trust me when I say this, because I've lived eons. Okay, the safest period in all of history is the time you're living right now, under U.S. rule.
Yeah, it's true. It's just the media doesn't make it feel that way for some people.
Does not make it feel that way. Like the infant mortality is down at the bottom because no one's having kids at all. So like it's just infant, but we're children live. Like there's like this is kind of a joke and stuff. I was chilling with Charlie and stuff. If I ever had a kid, I would celebrate like back in they would do this across a lot of Asian countries, but there's like the whole celebration for children once they make past 100 days. Because children wouldn't, if the child made it at least to like that age, they would survive. There's a good chance it'd survive. They wouldn't celebrate the baby because if it dies, it's kind of like, if your girlfriend or your wife's pregnant and you don't tell nobody until like the baby's actually like legitimately about to pop out the stomach, because if it's born stillborn or like it doesn't come, you don't want to, you just don't want to tell, you don't want everyone to be like, damn, bro, that sucks. You just want to keep it private, right? Well, a lot of people are so used to their children dying that they would wait until the child was about 100 days and then be like, all right, this kid's gonna make it. And then they crown him like, hey, you're now like, congratulations, bro, you passed the fucking tutorial island. Congratulations.
They should bring back what do you call it? Like what do you call it? Like coming of age things where like they send kids out into the wilderness and like make them survive and shit. I'm like, Spartans, we need more of that in society these days.
So, so Volcker set the Fed rate, exactly right. So basically, it strengthened up to there. So so this is what people don't understand. When we print money, we part of that money hits domestically. But obviously, if we were just our own country alone, even though we're gigantic and our GDP is awesome and stuff, if we printed all this money like we said we have, it would cause massive more. The inflation we have would be insanity. The reason it doesn't is because we're the world reserve currency and everyone has to use our dollars. Now, because the most important commodity on the planet has to be traded in dollars, this automatically puts this buys demand. It's set in demand. That means the most valuable resource on the planet, which need to do war, make our planes, make money for everything. Everything runs on oil. It's not Duncan. Everything runs on oil. This causes countries to be like, oh fuck, then I'll just store these dollars. And since they store these dollars, they start buying other commodities with it. They don't force people to buy every other commodity in dollars, but essentially, the United States monopolized on an international scale. You have to buy everything in dollars. So this means that every country on the planet now has to keep a surplus of dollars to buy on the open market. And this is why, as the US dollar, every other country, in order to get dollars, is they have to now print a bunch of their currency, trade it for dollars, which causes inflation in their country. But if their country produces things that people are naturally buying dollars with, then inflation is not a problem in their country. But if their country, America, doesn't want anything from it, or dollars don't want anything from it, then they print money, then they start getting hyperinflation in order to get these resources that they need. So there's this whole game, there's kind of this whole international game about demand, effectively. Basically, do Americans like you? Do Americans or quasi-European Americans like your stuff? Buy now. And if no one wants to buy now anything from your country, then you can only print so much money. So every other country on the planet is sort of hamstrung because effectively their currencies are not that powerful because they don't have worldwide demand. I think the second strongest currency on the planet is the Japanese yen, and it is literally like this. I think if I remember correctly, the economy of Japan is smaller than California.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Like, yeah, it's interesting because at one point, what do you call it? The Emperor's Palace in the 80s, right? In
the center of Japan,
of Tokyo. Yeah, I used to go jogging around that place. It's like 2.5 kilometers, really good workout. But anyways, and beautiful as hell. Like did that once a week. It was fun. But that land there used to be worth more than all the real estate in California at one point in the 80s, which is fucking insane, right? And the Japanese bought
sold top.
Yeah, they bought Rockefeller Center. I think it was, I forget if it was Mitsubishi or somebody else or like a group of people, but like Japanese in the 80s, their economy was like the craziest, right? Like they're like, okay, we're going to come back and we're going to make, some freaking money after the World War II, and rebuild the country and everything. But then the United States came knocking, right? And when they came knocking, they basically said, "Hey, do you still want to remain a top 5 to 10 economy in the world basically forever? Yeah, sounds like a good deal. What do I have to do? Well, all you have to do is cuck out your economy slowly, create a recession, make that recession last as long as you can." It ended up being, I think, 15 years from 1990 to like 2005 or something like that. And if you watch the documentary Princes of the Yen, this is exactly like they're taking bits and pieces out of that playbook to weaken their own economy in order to basically prop up the Ponzi, right? And they're doing that now, like on a larger scale globally for all countries. Like the Richard Werner did a really good video on Real Vision during the middle of the pandemic, and he was like, "Why do you think all this money printing is happening? You think it's because of COVID? You crazy, right? Or are you stupid?" But like he didn't say it like that, but he was just like,
I'm like, yes.
Well, because we were talking about this a little bit in the airport today too, which was before the pandemic, about what, October 2019, so about 6 months or so before all that went down, they basically started that repo market, right? So taking different pages of quantitative easing out of the Japanese playbook. And in Japan, I mean, they ended up, they're doing just fine. They just mainly are more domestic than international, but then they get to, stay a top 5 economy with the Bank of International Settlements. So that was their, dues. But now that the United States is basically like, okay, we're going to do these kind of secret ways to print more money in the economy. They call it something different every time. I don't know what they're calling it right now, but or I forgot what they're calling it right now, but I'm sure you have a few points on that. But it's just, whenever they start doing that, you're like, okay, what's coming around the corner now? Because people don't want inflation. People don't want them to print money instinctually. I don't know how some people know that more consciously than others, but they always need a crisis, always an excuse, right? In Japan, the recession they created was their own crisis. So they created their own crisis in order to make an excuse to do what they did. And then they let in a bunch of foreigners and had them buy land in downtown Tokyo and stuff. And that's like, if you look at all of Japanese history, you watch the show Shogun, you just know, like, oh my God, how much that just got to have pain to them. Like the politicians probably don't care, but the business people are probably like, all these foreigners getting land, goddamn, So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know, all those bits are never talked about, right? They're talked about, but they're talked about in the shadows, and in terms of like the Fed never talks about them, the officials never talk about them, right? So it takes people kind of like keeping one eye open on that. So I don't know if they've been looking to increase the money supply. So if they do start doing stuff to get more of that, then I would say TikTok to watch what excuses are they going to come up with this time.